Well, let's just jump right into it then, shall we? So, the first thing we're going to do is a timeline of college admissions. And this is really important. We're doing it first because I want you to have this in your head as we go through everything else, because there are so many things. There's a lot. So, we're going to start with kind of the little calendar here. So, we're going to start at the beginning of junior year and we're going to go to the end of senior year. Okay. So, my juniors that I teach the SAT and ACT to, most of them start studying for that in the fall of junior year. And the reason for that is so that they can knock it out in either December, January, February, sometime in the winter of that year, because spring is a very busy time for juniors in high school. There's a lot going on. Sports, prom, you name it, the school musical, it's all happening in the spring. So I really do recommend that my juniors try and knock it out before March if they can. Now, that doesn't always happen. That's totally okay. They sometimes need a couple of attempts. So sometimes my juniors will take it in the spring. That's totally fine. The last chance to take the SAT or the ACT is in October of senior year. Okay, so there's plenty of time. I just like for them to do it at a time when they can actually focus on it and knock it out and not have to worry about it anymore. So there's that. So that's junior year, is that standardized test. Some people don't take it at all. That's like a whole other thing, especially now with it going test optional and all of that stuff. We'll talk about it later. But in the spring of junior year, if they're done with the SAT or the ACT, I actually start working on this college admissions stuff with them in like March, April, May. Because the first thing we have to do is get the list of schools figured out so that maybe you as the family can go check some of them out, maybe visit some schools over spring break or in the summer. Super fun to do. So that's usually when I help students figure out what their school list is going to be. And the college counselors at the high schools usually do the same thing around then. So that's usually what they're doing in spring of junior year, is figuring out what schools they want to look at. Then I have started teaching Common App stuff and getting that Common App ready and starting the essay brainstorming in May and June, because that's when the Common App has their prompts officially published. So once the prompts are published, you can start working on it. Some students have a summer activity between junior and senior year that they want to work on, that they want to write about, and that's great. So sometimes they have to wait. But I really like to try and get the Common App done early, because the supplement essays, the supplemental essays for each school, aren't published until August or September usually. And so if you can get that Common App essay out of the way in the spring or early summer, or at least get a draft or two done, that's really helpful, because then you can just focus on the supplements. Because once school starts, everything gets more difficult. Everything gets harder in August and September when people are back in school, because they have other things to do. So I really do try and get the bulk of this college work done in the summer. I think it's really valuable to get it done. I know it's hard. I really do want kids to have some vacation as well. That's really important to me. But the sooner you can get this done, the better. Then, okay. The first application is going to be due at the end of October. And this is early action or early decision. We'll have its own video about that. But basically, your top choice school needs to be finished by the end of October. And that means everything turned in, all the letters of rec done, all of the transcripts and whatnot sent over. So that will all be done by the end of October. And then in November and December, that's when I have them write the rest of the supplements that aren't done yet. We submit everything else. If they're applying to schools outside the US, those applications are usually due in the spring or even early summer of the senior year of the next year. So that has a little bit more wiggle room. And then most students who apply early hear back in early December to about December 15th is when the early decisions usually come back. And then once the applications are all in, the regular timeline is usually you'll hear back in April, and then you need to decide by May. And there are all kinds of other things that happen in there. You can talk to the schools about finances or scholarships or what have you. But usually students have their acceptance letters by April, and then they need to choose one by May, and then off to college they go. So that's a pretty basic overview of what the calendar kind of looks like. But, you know, in summary, get that SAT, ACT done as soon as you can in junior year. Then use that summer between junior and senior year to write college applications as much as you can. As soon as the supplements are officially published, you can start on those, and then get everything in early, please. We like to get things in early, not the day before so much. So that's the basic timeline. Okay, let's keep going.